Back in the book segment tonight, as we told you in the Talking Points memo, PBS is airing a number of documentaries by committed leftist Bill Moyers. But the network will not run a program called Islam versus Islamists, even though the Center for Public Broadcasting paid for it. Joining us now from Washington, one of the executive producers of the 52-minute film, Frank Gaffney. Now, here's what happened. You got the money while Kenneth Tomlinson was running PBS, who was a conservative. They killed him over there. And now they have a liberal management, and they don't want you to run any kind of documentary that shows the Islamists as being, I don't know, fanatical, crazy. You tell me.
Well, actually, the story is a little more interesting than that. Under Ken Tomlinson, a project was pulled together called America at a Crossroads that was intended to present a variety of points of view. I mean, exactly what you'd think taxpayer underwritten broadcasting on public airwaves would be about. Our film was selected out of a substantial competition, 440 proposals, to be one of the 8 that would air in the rollout that took place last week. As you said, Bill, at one point along the trail, the previous management of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting was replaced. The project was turned over to the same people who think that Bill Moyers and people like him ought to get all of the airtime that they want.
Is that a guy named Jeff Bieber? Is he the guy?
He's one of the guys who was involved at WETA.
So are you saying, Frank, are you saying that they spiked your documentary because of political reasons, political correctness? They didn't want to take heat from the Muslim community because you were pretty tough on the Islamists. Are you flat out saying that they're doing that?
You know, I don't know what their motivations are, Bill. There's a lot of evidence that some of that was at work, but here's what I know. The voices of moderate Muslims, people we're all looking for, people we're all wondering, are they out there and why aren't they doing more to help us, are being suppressed. Those voices are being suppressed by people who control the public airwaves. They're being suppressed for whatever reason, but I'll tell you the practical effect of it is helping the Islamists in America and elsewhere in the West, and it is suppressing, doing exactly what they want.
All right, let me quote this guy. He wrote you, I have a copy of the letter here, Jeff Bieber. He says, this is why the PBS and WETA is not running it. WETA is the affiliate in D.C. Quote, the writing is alarmist and overreaching without adequate context and specific information to justify the tone and degree of generalization. There are awkwardly phrased assertions, convoluted reasoning, and implications of connections between subjects without evidence. He's basically saying that you just don't have the goods, that, you know, you went in. Look, Moyers goes in with an agenda. We proved it. You saw it. Out of context stuff. His agenda is me. I bullied everybody into be cowed into. It's just absurd. All right, now they're saying the same thing about you. You went in to try to make the Muslim community look bad. How do you respond?
Well, this is utter rubbish. We're presenting the voices of Muslims. They're not people who are interested in making the Muslim community look bad. They're interested in fighting our common enemy. That is to say, us in the non-Muslim world and they in the Muslim world, who are all at threat from Islamofascists.
All right, so you are spotlighting the good Muslims.
Well, we're spotting people who are standing up for democratic principles and values.
But why wouldn't they want that? Why wouldn't they want to put that on?
You'd have to ask them.
Correct?
You'd have to ask them. Their view is that we were unfair to the Islamists.
And that we have the jihadists, the killers?
Well, the conservative imams, as they like to call them, who are not necessarily jihadists, who are sympathizers, the Wahhabists, and those.
So you were unfair to them.
Sponsor. We were unfair to them. But look, Bill, listen. I believe that the American people ought to be able to decide whether we met the vaunted standards of just let it out there. Let people decide for themselves, yeah, but especially since American taxpayers paid for this film.
The problem with that is it's got to be fair, because what Moyers did was unfair, and they're saying what you did was unfair. I haven't seen it. I don't know.
I encourage you to take a look at it.
Yeah, I will. And here's
the other piece of this, though, that is really galling. PBS gave, on a sweetheart deal basis, Robert McNeil, the host of this series, his own film, which was a complete Islamist propaganda fest. So there you would have had some balance,
so
even if our film were as unfair as they say it was, and it wasn't.
He likes the killers?
He certainly gave them a lot of airtime in a piece that was fawning and, frankly, sickening. Even the New York Times thought so.
All right. Frank, thanks very much. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, Bill.
Next, we'll wrap things up. The most ridiculous item. Some of your